Hey, do you want to know how much house you can buy with an FHA loan? I will show you that in today's video. Hey everybody, welcome to my channel. I am your host, Leo Landaverde, business coach and real estate investor, helping you scale your business. If you want to grow your business to 7 figures and beyond while creating the financial freedom and the lifestyle you want, then subscribe to my channel. And don't forget to hit the bell. You'll be notified every Thursday when a video comes out. This video is part of a series that I'm calling, How Much House Can I Afford? Now, I already done several videos. If you haven't watched them, please, you need to watch them next. How much house can I afford at $50,000 a year? How much house can I afford at $60,000? And last week we released a video called How Much House Can I Afford at $100,000? Please watch those because that'll help you kind of get a feel for how things are like. So today we talk about how much house you can afford with an FHA loan. Now, FHA stands for Federal Housing Administration. Now, the Federal Housing Administration, or the FHA, is not a bank. It doesn't really lend money, but rather insures the loans made by the lending institutions. So these are government-backed loans. So if you default, the government will pay for it. The FHA has 5 major requirements. We'll go over this right now. And if you stay till the end, I'm gonna show you in my computer, depending on the county that you live in, how much house you can afford. So number 1, FICO. Now FICO, there's 2 particular variances on the FICO. If your FICO is at least 580, then you only have to put down 3.5%. That's pretty good, right? Because it allows you to put a little less down. However, if your FICO is between 500 and 579, which means you have some credit challenges, you're gonna be required to put 10% down. So keep that in mind. It's either over 580 or below 580. Number 2, mortgage insurance premium. It is required if you're gonna get an FHA loan. So this is just a guarantee. It's non-negotiable with the FHA. Number 3, your debt to income ratio has to be less than 43%. And this is the back-end ratio. Now if you watch my videos, there's 2 types of debt to income ratios. There is the front ratio, which is without the loan. And there is the back-end ratio, which is after the lender has factored in your mortgage payment, your principal, interest, taxes, and insurance factored in. It cannot be more than 43%. And number 4, you must use the house that you're gonna buy as your primary residence. The FHA does not get involved with income property, rentals, anything other than primary residence. FHA is not going to work for you. Number 5, the borrowers must have steady income and proof of employment, which makes it especially challenging if you are self-employed. If you are self-employed, you have to show proof of net income that it goes 2 years back. It's a little more complex than if you have W-2, but not impossible. So that's number 5. Now remember, front-end ratio is before the mortgage calculations, and back-end ratio is post, including your mortgage payment. So now let's hop over to my computer and see what that looks like.
So how much house can you afford with an FHA loan? Well, Quicken Loans does a pretty good job, so watch this. This section right here is what matters. The limits for 2021, by the way, they get updated every year. For 2021, the range goes from $356,000 to $822,375, and it varies by county in the US. And that's a crazy gap. And the main reason for that, it is the cost of living. Bigger counties, bigger cities, or bigger counties will have a larger cost of living, more expensive. I should say a higher cost of living versus the smaller counties. The rural areas will have the lower end, and I'm going to show you how that works. So long as you remember, you have to know where you are, and if you're working with a lender, and if you're in the process of being pre-qualified so you can go shop around for a house, you should know how much, if you want to take advantage of the FHA just because you want to have the lower down payment. Remember what I said, 580 FICO and above, and you only have 3.5%. You can do that if you take advantage of the FHA loan, but the gap between what the maximum loan amount is and your down payment will have, if you're looking for a bigger house, you're gonna have to put up the gap. Okay, so let me show you what that looks like. So here is the HUD website, and it gives you very good intel as to each and every county and what the limits are per county. So let's find out the contrast between two counties. Now I can only speak to California because this is where I live and work, but I'm going to show you just basically the difference between the two counties. So I'm going to start with Los Angeles County, right, for 2021, and you just basically I already put in the county and the state and then Los Angeles County. And check this out. The max loan limit for a one-family residence is $822,000. So you could buy an $850,000 home in Los Angeles using an FHA loan, and that's because everything is very expensive in Los Angeles. And I've done a bunch of videos. I always talk about LA, the Bay Area, Fresno, but that applies to also, if you live in Chicago, if you live in Miami, if you live in New York City, the bigger cities will have a higher FHA limit. So let's change that up. So, okay, before we go into the next thing, so 2-family is $1,053,000, that's the limit. 3-family is $1,272,000. And the 4-family, which is a 4-unit, is $1,581,000. Remember what I said, that you must occupy the unit. This is not, so if you are a savvy investor and looking for a way to actually acquire some real estate, you can actually get an FHA loan, and say you're looking at a triplex and you live in one of the units and you rent the other 2, which is boom. That's kind of what I would suggest if you want to take advantage, but you cannot be you cannot be purely a rental and a non-owner occupied. So now, with that said, let's go and find out another county. So now we're going to look at Fresno County, where I'm based out of. So in Fresno County, your FHA limits are as follows. So I had to pause because I guess the internet, I was just not getting a very good signal. So we're back. So this is what it looks like in Fresno County. So remember, we went from $822,000 in LA County. Now in Fresno County, you can only get a 1-family for a single family residence, $356,000. That's the highest limit. For a duplex, that would be $456,000. For a triplex or a 3-family unit would be $551,000, and a 4-plex or 4-family, $685,000. Do you see the difference between the two? Because bigger counties will have higher cost of living, and that's probably, that's usually what happens. So I hope this was helpful to you. So now you know how much house you can afford with an FHA loan.
If you have any questions, please comment below. I read all comments and respond within 24 hours because I love feedback. Also, if you have any ideas for any videos that I should be doing next, please let me know as well. Hey, if this video was helpful to you, you're really gonna enjoy these next videos. Watch them next, please. And if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to my channel and don't forget to hit the bell.